This update is specifically for those on Social Security benefits. We have a lot of big updates. Biden has confirmed that stimulus checks will be $1,400 and is expected to include those on Social Security benefits and adult dependents as well. And this Wednesday, February 3rd, the House voted on and approved a resolution for stimulus. The Senate is expected to do so this week as well. We'll discuss the details and what this means for stimulus in this video. I also have a quick update for those on Social Security benefits. But first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I'd also like to thank my sponsor, Webull. They've partnered with me to provide free stocks for my viewers, valued up to $1,800. It's completely free and takes 2 minutes. All you need to do is open an account using my link. The link is in the description of this video, just below the like button. Feel free to sell the stocks immediately to use the money if you'd like. Just make sure to fully open an account and then click on the green button that says Get Free Stocks. Okay, Biden has confirmed that stimulus checks will be $1,400, despite the fact that Republicans are trying to convince him to lower that to $1,000, but he said that he will not begin his administration by breaking his promise to the American people. Okay, so that is really good news, and at the same time, he continues to try and negotiate with Republicans, but the House and the Senate have begun that budget reconciliation process, which will allow them to approve a massive stimulus plan with absolutely no support from Republicans and would be completely filibuster-proof. That is really good news because we need this package approved quickly. But before we get into it, let's do a quick update for those on Social Security benefits. Now, this is specifically for those who have still not received their previous stimulus checks, whether it's that first stimulus check, the second stimulus check, or any additional check you should have received for a child dependent that was 16 years or younger. Now, first I want to recap that if you were claimed as an adult dependent by somebody else, unfortunately, you did not qualify for those stimulus checks this year. However, Joe Biden is expected to include you in that third stimulus check. But for everyone else, if you think you qualified for those stimulus checks, the best thing you can do now, if you still have not received those, is to file your taxes, and your tax preparer should be able to get you those stimulus checks as a tax refund. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions in the comments. Why do I need to file my taxes? I've never filed taxes. I'm only getting Social Security benefits, and I'm never required to do so. Well, you're not required to. But if you think you should have received that stimulus check and you didn't, you should go ahead and file those taxes. And if you're having trouble figuring out where to begin, just go to your local tax preparer, whatever's in your neighborhood. Just make sure they don't charge too much. A simple tax return should not cost more than like $60 to $100. And then tell them, hey, the reason I'm filing my taxes is because I think I should have received those stimulus checks. They should be able to walk you through it and let you know whether or not you will get that as a tax refund. A lot of people are getting a lot of money back. I was speaking to someone in the comments last week. They're going to get over $3,000 in back paid stimulus payments just by filing their taxes, guys. So again, if you're on Social Security benefits and you didn't receive your stimulus checks, the best thing you can do is file your taxes to receive that as a tax refund. Now, with that said, Joe Biden and Democrats are pushing forward with that $1,400 stimulus check, and they are expected to get that done quickly because the House just voted on and approved the very first step of that process. Now, let me give you a quick summary of how this works. There is essentially 3 steps to this budget reconciliation process. Step 1 is a budget resolution, which they have to vote on and approve, which essentially is just the blueprint, a top-line spending bill for the year. Now, the second step is writing up the bill of the budget reconciliation, which is actually the details of that spending bill. And Democrats have instructed the Democratic committees to include Joe Biden's stimulus package in that budget reconciliation bill. So step 1, approve that budget resolution. The House already did that, and the Senate is expected to do that now this week. Step 2 is to write up that budget reconciliation bill. And you can essentially think of that budget reconciliation bill as the stimulus bill at this point. You can basically use those two terms interchangeably at this point because this budget reconciliation bill will essentially be a stimulus package, okay? And the third step is to take that to a vote in the Senate and officially vote for that and approve that budget reconciliation, which would then finally officially approve that stimulus package. Now, step 1. House Democrats already did that. They approved that budget resolution. Now the Senate has to do that this week as well. Then we can move to step 2. at which point they will begin writing that official bill, which will include Biden's massive stimulus package. And then step 3 is to then go ahead and vote for it in the Senate and officially approve it. Now, the timeline here is expected to be about 30 days. I know that seems like a long wait. We need the stimulus package more quickly, but unfortunately, this budget reconciliation process is really, really cumbersome. There's a lot of details, a lot of legality, and if Democrats don't do this right from the beginning, it will slow things down even further because Republicans can essentially say it was an unconstitutional bill, if that kind of makes sense. So this is why it will take a while. So we do expect this to be fully approved in about 30 days, maybe a little bit longer. Mid-March is kind of a more realistic expectation. But Biden has been telling Democrats to go ahead and keep moving on with this process. He will still continue to negotiate with Republicans, but he is not willing to lower that $1,400 payment. He said he will not break his promise. Let's see what he said here. There was a really good quote by Joe Biden. He said, "We cannot walk away from additional $1,400 in direct checks we proposed because the people need, and frankly, they've been promised it. Maybe we can, I think we can better target the number. I'm okay with that. But we're not going to start my administration by breaking a promise to the American people." That is really good news because Joe Biden is in tune with the American people, and he knows that he promised us these $1,400 stimulus checks. Now, with that said, he is open to lowering the amount of people that would qualify. Now, don't freak out here. Most people would still qualify, but Democrats are considering only allowing you to qualify for that full $1,400 payments if you make less than $50,000 per year or a married couple that makes less than $100,000 per year. Currently, that threshold was about $75,000 per year for those who are single. The good news is the majority of people would still qualify for this, especially those on Social Security benefits. This would not affect the majority of you, but millions of people would be left out, okay? For example, a school teacher who makes $60,000 a year, who's a frontline worker, would not be included in this stimulus package, okay? She would get a smaller portion of the stimulus check, maybe $200-300, but she would not get that full stimulus check. But that is what's currently on the table. The good news is Biden has pledged to keep his promise, and House Democrats have already approved that budget resolution, and Senate Democrats are expected to do so this week as well, meaning they will begin writing that official reconciliation bill, aka stimulus bill, hopefully next week, guys. So the ball is rolling, okay? This is really good news. And Joe Biden's press secretary gave a really good recap just yesterday, recapping what is expected to be in Joe Biden's stimulus package. Will they be willing to remove anything to compromise with Republicans? And the fact that Biden will be keeping his promise of those $1,400 stimulus checks. So let's see exactly what Joe Biden's press secretary had to say regarding stimulus.
Good afternoon. Have a couple of items for you all at the top. I was a little worried about getting that mask off with the earrings. Okay, successful, good start. Today, President Biden joined the House Democratic Caucus meeting by phone to discuss the American Rescue Plan. The president made clear that the American Rescue Plan was designed to meet the stakes of the public health and economic crisis, and the President Caucus agreed that a final package must address the crises facing working families, including housing and food insecurity, and reopening schools. President Biden said the cost of inaction and doing too little is greater than the cost of doing too much. The president also had the opportunity to meet in the Oval Office just a few minutes ago with Leader Schumer and the Democratic chairs of the Senate committees with jurisdiction over the American Rescue Plan, as part of his ongoing engagement with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. During the meeting, they had a productive conversation on the status of legislative proceedings on the package. They were in agreement over the need to move swiftly to ensure that we get $1,400 direct payments to middle and working class Americans as quickly as possible, that we need to take steps to get immediate relief to the Americans who are struggling with food insecurity or facing eviction, and that we need to provide more resources to get shots into arms faster. The president and the senators were also in agreement over the need to go big and to meet the challenges we face with a response that will get the job done in beating this virus and in protecting our economy from long-term damage. During the conversation, the president and Democratic leaders also agreed to continue working to find areas of bipartisan agreement in an effort to integrate ideas and make the process as bipartisan as possible.
Okay, I just want to point out that even though Biden continues to say he wants to work in a bipartisan fashion, it's become really clear that he's not really willing to compromise that much because he feels the American people need the help. And although he is willing to compromise, it's going to be on his terms, meaning that the Republicans will have to be willing to do the majority of the compromising.
There have been lots of questions from some of you and others about the differences between the president's plan, the Democratic plan, and the plan that has been proposed by 10 Republican senators. So I wanted to outline some of those specifics here for you. The president's plan would fulfill his pledge to finish getting $2,000 checks to hard-hit Americans and ensure that, for example, a kindergarten teacher making $60,000 a year isn't left without additional support. Their plan wouldn't provide that teacher with direct relief.
Okay, she's referring to the fact that Republicans want to lower that stimulus check to $1,000 and only allow you to fully qualify for it if you make less than $40,000 per year, at which point you would begin to receive less and less and less. And once you reached about $60,000, you would not receive anything at all. Again, Joe Biden wants to make it a $1,400 stimulus check and wants everyone up to $50,000 to qualify for the entire thing.
The president's plan would give Americans who are out of work through no fault of their own a $400 weekly supplement and the certainty that it would last through the worst of the pandemic. Their plan would give unemployed Americans less money and therefore less certainty. The president's plan would keep hundreds of thousands of teachers.
Okay, I also want to point out here that Joe Biden's plan for the unemployment extension would last until the end of September. So not only would it be more per week, an extra $100 per week than the Republicans, it would also last a lot longer because the Republican proposal would only last until the end of June, giving people on unemployment a lot less certainty throughout this crisis.
Cops, firefighters, paramedics, and other public servants on the job. Their plan offers no money to state and local governments to keep people on the front lines of this fight employed. The president's plan would also assist the millions of families who are behind on their rent and facing potential eviction. Their plan wouldn't offer any support to these families. The president's plan would provide targeted, immediate relief to families with children and essential workers through an emergency expansion of the child tax credit and the EITC. Their plan would deny relief to 15 million lower-income essential workers. The president's plan together would reduce the number of kids living in poverty by 5 million this year and cut child poverty in half. Their plan would likely leave millions of additional kids out.
Okay, she's referring to the fact that Joe Biden wants to include a lot of tax cuts for those who have kids and those who are low income, essentially helping millions of people lift out of poverty just through a tax cut, and helping those who have kids avoid childhood hunger, because childhood hunger is at a record high this year, guys, in America. This country should not have a record high level of childhood hunger. And this is why Joe Biden wants to approve those tax cuts, not only for those who are low income, but also for those who have children as well. And Republicans' proposal did not include that. So that is what she is referring to here.
Just as importantly, the president's plan would make sure we have every resource we need to defeat this virus and get life back to normal, including $130 billion to help ensure our kids can go back to school safely, $20 billion to mount a nationwide vaccination campaign, $50 billion for more and better testing, and critical funding to improve our ability to track and defeat emerging COVID-19 strains. I know that was a lot, but it's a lot of interest in this issue. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks so much, Jen. Two questions. President Biden told House Democrats today that he considered the $1,400 direct payment a promise that he can't break. At the same time, a new analysis from the Penn-Wharton budget model suggests that 73% of those payments would go into savings instead of be spent in ways that could boost growth. I'm wondering, what's more important, to keep the promise or to ensure that the package does all it can to maximize growth?
Well,
okay, I'm going to call this person out. That's completely ridiculous. He's saying that some economists are saying that if we give these people stimulus checks, they will not spend it and it will not stimulate the economy. They will simply save it, which will not stimulate the economy. And guys, I strongly disagree. And let me know in the comments if you strongly disagree as well. There are millions of people living in poverty, millions of people struggling to pay their rents, struggling to put food on the table, millions of people on unemployment, millions of people on Social Security benefits who barely make enough to put a roof over the head. And some economists are saying that people will not spend these checks. And first of all, who cares if they don't spend them? We're in the middle of a pandemic. in the middle of a recession. What's better than putting an extra $1,400 in savings just in case, okay? What's wrong about having a little bit of savings, a little bit of a cushion to make it through a crisis? That is just so out of touch with the American people. It really upsets me. Let's see what Joe Biden's press secretary had to say about it.
Well, first, on the Penn Warren analysis, we've seen that analysis, and I've talked to our economic team about it, and frankly, we feel it's way out of step with the majority of studies on this plan, including independent analysis from the Wall Street firm Moody's, JP Morgan Chase, and the Brookings Institution. And the analysis concludes that our economy is near capacity, which would be news to the millions of Americans who are out of work or facing reduced hours and reduced paychecks. So this starting place means their model is way off. So our view is we're going to listen to governors, we're going to listen to a broad range of economists, we're going to listen to health experts on what is needed, what the American people need at this point in time. And when 1 in 7 American families don't have enough food to eat, it's clear that there is a great deal of need for assistance.
Okay, good. I'm really glad that she completely disagreed with that person. That was such a terrible argument, guys. But let's jump forward because I specifically want to stick to questions that are about stimulus.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. The Republican plan matches you guys up on the national vaccine top line and also the testing top line. But you ticked through some pretty significant differences between the two proposals. I know we've asked this seemingly daily at this point, but where is
It's okay, it's your job.
where is the space for bipartisan agreement when the differences are that significant across major components of what the president wants?
Well, an area where there's agreement to work together on is funding for small business. And that's something, of course, Democrats and Republicans want to do. Our view is that this bill itself is bipartisan. 74% of the public support it, Republicans and Democrats, independents across the country. And there is agreement that it's important to work with many Republicans and Democrats who fall on different parts of the political spectrum to put their ideas forward and consider them. And that's part of the conversation and part of the process now happening on the Hill. We will see. What proposals that improve the bill, that make it better, and there's certainly an openness to that.
Okay, she's referring to the fact that 75% of the country, of the general public, approve of this massive stimulus package, but 99% of Republican senators and representatives do not, okay? So she's kind of saying that that the GOP is a little bit out of touch with the American people, but let me know in the comments if you agree. And she continues to say that, yes, Joe Biden and Democrats want to work in a bipartisan fashion, but guys, I'll be honest with you, Democrats and Joe Biden are playing hardball. They're not really willing to compromise that much on this, and they're going to need Republicans to do the majority of the compromising if they're going to do this on a bipartisan level. And let me know in the comments what you think of this, because a lot of people are criticizing Joe Biden because one of the main things he said was we need to foster unity, we need to work together, and we need a bipartisan culture in the White House. And so far, that really has not come to fruition, although they have had a bipartisan tone and a positive tone as far as wanting to work in a bipartisan fashion. That technically has not really come to fruition yet. Now, just to be clear here with my opinion, the main thing I care about is stimulus for the American people who need help. So if Democrats need to pass this without Republicans, I'm all for that and I'm completely on board. Although I do hope Republicans come to their senses and want to approve this because millions of people need this help.
Several Republican senators have said publicly that they believe the president is in a different place than his staff on this issue in particular, and he is more willing to deal perhaps than his staff. Is there daylight between the president and his staff on the $1.9 trillion proposal?
Absolutely not. I've seen some of those reports. Many of them are ludicrous. I've sat in a lot of meetings with the President of the United States in the last few weeks, and even before then. There is no one who's going to tell him what to do or hold him back from his commitment to delivering relief to the American people. And I would point you to the fact that he talked about the importance of going big on a package back to the campaign. He talked about the importance of meeting this moment back to the campaign. So that is certainly his commitment, and that's exactly what he's working to deliver on.
Okay, just to clarify here, he asked her a question regarding the fact that some people are reporting that there is a divide amongst Democrats, that not all Democrats are going to be willing to support this massive stimulus package, even through that budget reconciliation process. And she kind of deflected that, saying, no, it's not an issue. But I'll be honest with you guys, it is somewhat of an issue because Democrats need every single Democratic senator to vote yes for this. So even if one senator votes no, we're going to have a massive problem getting this budget reconciliation stimulus approved. We've already seen senators like Joe Manchin, who is the Democratic senator of, I believe, West Virginia, say that he might not be willing to vote for this. So guys, we are going to have a lot of debate just even amongst Democrats throughout this process. And this is one reason why it is expected to take 4 to 6 weeks to get this done. But again, this is all part of the process, and we do still expect this to be approved. It just won't be as quickly as we hoped for. Okay, let's just skip a little bit ahead again for another stimulus question.
I have a couple questions, thanks, Jen. So during the Georgia runoffs, President Biden campaigned specifically on $2,000 stimulus checks. And obviously, as we've discussed, the payment is $1,400. There doesn't seem to be an active discussion on actually raising that amount. So is that a broken promise to voters who may have been expecting $2,000 checks if Democrats won? And would the administration be open to raising that amount?
Well, you're right that the president is very focused on ensuring millions of Americans receive those checks and that pivotal relief at this point in time. There was $600 payments, as you know, in the $900 billion package that passed in December. This is $1,400. Together, that's $2,000. So it would be delivering on the promise he made, and it's something that he is firmly sticking by.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm going to call out Joe Biden on this one because they did say $2,000 stimulus checks. Now they're kind of threading the needle, saying, no, you know what, we meant $2,000, including that original $600 stimulus check from December. But let's be real, guys. They said $2,000 stimulus checks. They branded it as a $2,000 stimulus checks, and they even said, if you vote for those Democratic senators in Georgia, you will immediately get those $2,000 stimulus checks. They didn't say $1,400, they said $2,000, okay? And again, $1,400 is pretty generous. I'm pretty happy with that. But let's be real. The American people need those full $2,000 stimulus checks. But to be honest with you, at this point, I'll be happy with the $1,400, okay? But again, we will have a lot of updates this week, guys, so don't forget to subscribe. This process of budget reconciliation will take a few weeks, so I will keep you updated, not only on those votes happening in the Senate, but also on the negotiations happening just within the Democratic Party as well. And we're going to cover stimulus for those on Social Security benefits, those on unemployment, and those who are getting that third stimulus check. And guys, if you made it this far into my video, thank you so much for supporting my channel. It really means the world to me. It's been such a hectic year, and honestly, this YouTube channel has been a dream come true. To go from literally 0 subscribers to almost 70,000 people in this community, I can't thank you enough. And guys, you will be in a better place. I know we're all going through a difficult season, but guys, stay positive and just every single day, keep taking steps towards a better tomorrow. But again, guys, thanks again for watching and have a great day.